The sound of expensive silverware clinking against fine china filled the air at Le Chateau as Lily balanced 3 plates along her arm. She had mastered this trick during her 4 years working at the fancy restaurant. Tonight was especially busy, with businessmen making deals over wine and wealthy couples celebrating anniversaries. Lily moved between tables with practiced steps, her black uniform shoes barely making a sound on the polished floor. She had learned to be almost invisible until needed. That's what the rich people liked, service that appeared like magic without interrupting their important conversations. "Your roasted duck with cherry sauce," she said, with a small smile as she placed the plate in front of an older gentleman. He barely looked up from his phone call. Lily was used to it. At 26, she had seen enough of these types to know most of them didn't really notice the people who served them. But she didn't take it personally. This job paid better than most, and she needed every dollar. After delivering the last plate, Lily paused near the corner of the room where the grand piano sat. It was a beautiful instrument, shiny black with gold details catching the light from the crystal chandeliers above. The restaurant owner had bought it 3 years ago to add more class to the place, but it was played only on special occasions when they hired musicians. Lily's fingers twitched slightly at her side as she looked at it. She quickly turned away and headed back to the kitchen before anyone could notice her staring. "Table 12 needs more water, and 8 is ready for dessert menus," said Miguel, the head waiter, as he passed by with a tray of cocktails. "Got it," Lily replied, grabbing a pitcher of ice water. As she worked through her shift, her mind kept wandering to the piano. It happened every time she worked an evening shift. The restaurant would get quieter as the night went on, the lighting would dim, and sometimes she could almost hear music that wasn't really there. By 11:30, most customers had left and the staff began cleaning up. Lily wiped down tables, reset silverware, and folded napkins into perfect triangles for tomorrow's lunch service. "You okay to lock up?" Miguel asked as he put on his jacket. "I promised my wife I'd be home before midnight for once." "Sure, go ahead. I just have a few more tables to set up." "Thanks. You're the best." He waved as he left through the back door. The kitchen staff had already gone, leaving Lily alone in the big restaurant. She finished her work quickly, then stood in the empty dining room. The only sounds were the soft hum of the refrigerators from the kitchen and distant street noise from outside. Her eyes drifted to the piano again. With a quick glance around the empty space, Lily walked over to it. She didn't sit down. She never did. But she gently ran her fingers along the smooth wood. "Maybe in another life," she whispered to herself. 20 minutes later, Lily was on the bus headed home. She leaned her head against the window, watching the city lights blur as they passed. The fancy part of town where Le Chateau stood gradually gave way to narrower streets and older buildings. The bus stopped with a squeak of brakes, and Lily got off, pulling her jacket tighter against the cool night air. She walked 3 blocks to an apartment building that had probably been nice about 40 years ago. Now the paint was peeling, and one of the front steps had a crack running through it. Lily quietly unlocked the door to apartment 3B and stepped inside. "That you, honey?" a soft voice called from the living room. "Yeah, it's me, Grandma. Why are you still up?" "It's almost 1 in the morning." Her grandmother sat in a worn armchair, a crocheted blanket across her legs and a book open on her lap. A small lamp cast a warm glow around her. At 78, her face was lined with wrinkles, but her eyes were still bright and alert. "Couldn't sleep. These old bones get restless sometimes." She closed her book. "How was work?" "The usual." Lily hung up her jacket and sat on the couch across from her grandmother. "You should be in bed. Did you take your medicine?" Yes. "Stop fussing." Her grandmother waved a hand. "Tell me about your day instead. Any interesting people come in?" Lily smiled despite her tiredness. This was their routine. No matter how late she worked, her grandmother would wait up to hear about her day. Well, there was this one couple who ordered the most expensive bottle of champagne we have. Must have cost more than a month's rent, and then they barely drank half of it. They chatted for a while, Lily describing the fancy outfits and funny customer requests, leaving out the parts about her aching feet and the businessman who had been rude about his soup being too cold. "You know," her grandmother said during a pause in conversation, "I passed by the community center today. They have that old piano in the rec room just sitting there. Nobody uses it much." Lily's smile faded slightly. "Grandma, I'm just saying you could go play sometimes. It wouldn't cost anything." I don't have time for that anymore. Lily stood up and stretched. Come on, let's get you to bed. Her grandmother sighed but allowed Lily to help her up and walk her to her bedroom. After making sure her grandmother was settled, Lily went to the tiny bathroom to wash up. The mirror showed a tired face looking back at her. Dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, shadows under her eyes. She had her mother's features, people always said. Lily could barely remember to know if that was true. In her own small bedroom, Lily changed into an oversized t-shirt and shorts to sleep in. Before getting into bed, she opened her closet and moved aside some hanging clothes. In the back corner, a cardboard box sat on the floor. She pulled it out and lifted the lid. Inside were certificates and photos from her teenage years. Lily picked up a framed picture of herself at age 15, sitting at a piano on a stage, a huge smile on her face as she held up a trophy. Next to it was a letter of acceptance to the State Conservatory of Music with a full scholarship offer. She touched the letter gently, then put everything back in the box and returned it to its hiding place in the closet. That night, she dreamed of music. She often did. In her dreams, her fingers moved across piano keys, creating sounds that made people stop and listen. In her dreams, she was somewhere else. Not a person who carried plates and refilled water glasses, but someone who made beautiful things happen. Morning came too quickly with the beeping of her alarm clock. Lily got up, made coffee, and checked on her grandmother, who was still sleeping. On the kitchen table, she arranged the day's pills in a small container with the times written on top. She left a note about lunch being in the fridge, already prepared. Before heading out, Lily looked at the bills stacked neatly on the counter. Medical insurance forms, prescription receipts, the electric bill marked final notice in red letters. She took a deep breath and put them back down. After today's shift and tomorrow's double, she should have enough to cover everything. Just barely. On the bus to work, Lily pulled out her phone and checked her calendar. Work, grocery shopping, pick up grandma's new medicine, work again. Life had been like this since she was 18, when her grandmother's health had started getting worse. The choice had seemed clear then. Stay and take care of the only family she had left, or go away to school to study music. Not really a choice at all. Le Chateau looked different in the daylight. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, hitting the crystal glasses and making little rainbows on the white tablecloths. Lily was the first server to arrive as usual. She liked the quiet of the restaurant before it opened, before the chaos of the day began. As she set up her section, the manager walked in carrying a stack of flyers. Morning. Lily, can you put these on the host stand? Big charity event coming up next week. Very exclusive. All hands on deck that night. Lily took one of the flyers and looked at it. Fancy gold lettering announced a gala fundraiser for arts education, hosted by some rich guy she'd never heard of, and in smaller print at the bottom, featuring special musical performances. Her eyes lingered on those words for a moment before she placed the flyers where they belonged and went back to setting tables. Just another workday beginning in a life that had taken a different path than the one she had once imagined. But sometimes, when the restaurant was quiet and that piano sat there in the corner catching the light, Lily could still feel music living inside her, waiting for a chance to come out. The week of the charity gala arrived, bringing with it a nervous energy that filled Le Chateau. Lily had never seen the manager, Mr. Russo, so stressed. He paced the dining room before opening hours, barking orders at everyone. Everything must be perfect, he kept saying, running his hand through his thinning hair. Do you understand who's coming to this event? Thomas Blackwood himself. The staff exchanged glances. Everyone knew Blackwood was one of the richest men in the city and a major supporter of the arts. His charity foundation donated millions each year to music programs and scholarships. The waitstaff will wear white gloves, Mr. Russo continued. And remember, these people can make or break our reputation with a single social media post. Lily listened quietly as she polished wine glasses, making each one sparkle under the chandelier lights. She had picked up extra shifts all week to prepare for the event, knowing the tips would be better than usual. You look tired, said Anna, another waitress, as they worked side by side. Just been busy, Lily replied. Grandma had doctor appointments 3 days this week. How's she doing? Lily shrugged. Good days and bad days. The new medication is expensive, but it seems to help with the pain. They worked in silence for a while before Anna spoke again. Did you hear about the piano player for the gala? Apparently he's played for presidents. Something tightened in Lily's chest, but she kept her face neutral. That's nice. I heard he charges $5,000 for an evening. Can you imagine getting paid that much just to play some songs? Lily almost said that years of training and practice were worth something, but she just nodded instead. No point in revealing too much about herself. The next few days passed in a blur of preparation. The restaurant closed to regular customers the day of the gala to get ready. Fresh flowers arrived by the truckload, and staff set up tables in a new arrangement to create space near the piano. Sparkling decorations in gold and white transformed the already elegant space into something magical. Lily arrived early, her uniform freshly pressed. Her phone buzzed with a text from her neighbor who was checking in on her grandmother for the evening. "Everything okay?" She texted back, "All good. She's watching her shows." "Don't worry." Relief washed over Lily. Tonight would be a long shift, but the money would help cover next month's bills. By 6 o'clock, everything was ready. The kitchen hummed with activity as the chef prepared his special menu. Waiters and waitresses stood at attention, white gloves in place, as Mr. Russo gave last-minute instructions. Then his phone rang. The staff watched as their manager's face went from neutral to concerned to almost panicked in the space of a minute. "What do you mean? You can't make it?" He nearly shouted into the phone. "The gala starts in 2 hours. Everyone fell silent. "Food poisoning? Are you sure it's not just nerves?" Mr. Russo paced in a tight circle. Yes, I understand. But what am I supposed to do now?" When he hung up, his face had gone pale. "The pianist," he said to no one in particular. "He's sick. Can't perform." For a moment, no one moved or spoke. Then everyone started talking at once. "Can we find someone else? What about recorded music?" "Mr. Blackwood will be furious." Mr. Russo held up his hands. "Quiet. Let me think." He disappeared into his office, and the staff could hear him making frantic phone calls. Lily went back to arranging napkins, but her heart was beating faster now. The first guests began arriving at 7:30, dressed in tuxedos and glittering gowns. Lily and the others put on professional smiles and began serving champagne. No one mentioned the missing pianist. By 8, the restaurant was filled with the city's elite. Lily recognized a famous actress, 2 state senators, and several business leaders whose pictures often appeared in the news. They all chatted and laughed, unaware of the crisis happening behind the scenes. Mr. Russo emerged from his office looking defeated. He pulled aside Miguel, now the head waiter. "No luck," Lily overheard him say. "Everyone is booked. One guy said he could come, but not until 10 at the earliest. What are we going to do?" Miguel asked. "I don't know. Serve more drinks, I guess. Keep them happy." Lily moved through the crowd with her tray of champagne flutes, smiling and nodding at the guests. As she passed the piano, she couldn't help glancing at it. The lid was open, sheet music ready, waiting for hands that wouldn't come. From across the room, she spotted Mr. Blackwood himself arriving. He was tall with silver hair and a commanding presence that made people step aside as he walked through. Mr. Russo rushed over to greet him, his face fixed in a strained smile. Lily continued working, but she kept one eye on their conversation. She couldn't hear the words, but she could read the body language. Mr. Russo was nervous, his hands moving too much as he talked. Mr. Blackwood's expression grew more serious by the second. Eventually, Mr. Russo clinked a fork against a glass to get everyone's attention. The room quieted down. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this special evening benefiting the Blackwood Foundation for Arts Education." His voice wavered slightly. "We have a wonderful dinner prepared for you tonight. Unfortunately, I must inform you that our scheduled pianist has taken ill and won't be able to perform." A murmur of disappointment spread through the crowd. However, Mr. Russo continued, "We will still have a lovely evening of conversation and fine dining." Mr. Blackwood stepped forward. "The music was meant to remind us all why we're here tonight," he said, his deep voice carrying easily through the room. "To support young artists who need our help to develop their talents." Lily felt something shift inside her as she listened. She thought about her box of certificates and that scholarship letter she'd had to turn down. She thought about her grandmother waiting at home, and about all the nights she'd walked past this piano wishing she could touch it. Before she could change her mind, she set down her tray on a nearby table and walked toward Mr. Russo. "Excuse me," she said quietly. He turned, clearly annoyed at the interruption. Not now, Lily. We're in the middle of a situation. I know, sir. That's why I'm here. She took a deep breath. I can play. Mr. Russo stared at her. What? The piano. I can play it. He looked at her like she'd lost her mind. This isn't a time for jokes. I'm not joking. I studied piano for 12 years. I was accepted to the state conservatory. Miguel, who was standing nearby, looked shocked. You never told me that. It was a long time ago, Lily said, still looking at Mr. Russo. But I can do this. Please let me try. Mr. Russo's face went through a series of expressions. Disbelief, consideration, and finally desperate hope. What can you play? He asked. Anything on that music stand, and more. He hesitated, then nodded slightly. Fine, one piece. If it's not good enough, you go right back to serving. Lily's heart was pounding so hard she thought everyone must hear it. She hadn't played on a real piano in years. Just occasionally on the old one at the community center when she could find time between shifts. As she walked toward the piano, she became aware of the eyes following her. Whispers spread through the room as people noticed the waitress in uniform heading for the instrument. She felt Mr. Blackwood watching her with curious eyes. The piano bench was cold and smooth beneath her as she sat down. Lily adjusted it slightly, then looked at the sheet music. It was a Chopin piece, difficult but familiar. She had played it many times before in another life. She placed her fingers on the keys and closed her eyes for just a moment. When she opened them again, she wasn't thinking about the crowd or the money or even her grandmother. For the first time in years, she was thinking only about the music. Her fingers pressed down and the first notes filled the room. Behind her, the whispers didn't stop immediately. People were still confused, still watching the waitress who had suddenly sat down at the piano. But as the melody took shape and grew stronger, the voices gradually faded. Lily didn't look up. She couldn't. She was remembering now. How to move. How to feel the music rather than just play it. Her body swayed slightly as her hands danced across the keys. The piece built toward its climax, growing more complex. And Lily leaned into it, her focus complete. When the final notes came, they hung in the air like something precious before fading away. Only then did she look up, suddenly terrified of what she might see on all those rich, important faces. The room was completely silent, every eye fixed on her. Mr. Russo stood frozen near the door, his mouth slightly open. Mr. Blackwood was still as a statue, his expression unreadable. Then someone began to clap. Others joined in, and suddenly the whole room erupted in applause. Lily sat stunned, her hand still resting on the keys. She caught Miguel's eye from across the room. He was grinning and clapping louder than anyone. Mr. Blackwood stepped forward as the applause continued. He approached the piano with measured steps and looked down at Lily with curious eyes. "Young lady," he said when the noise had died down enough for him to be heard, "I believe you and I need to have a conversation." Thomas Blackwood gestured toward a quiet corner of the restaurant, away from the curious stares of the other guests. Lily followed him, still wearing her waitress uniform with the white gloves that now felt strange on her hands after touching the piano keys. "Please, sit," he said, indicating a small table. Lily sat down, her legs feeling shaky. She couldn't quite believe what she had just done. Mr. Russo watched from a distance, his expression a mix of surprise and uncertainty. "That was Chopin's Ballade No. 1 in G minor," Mr. Blackwood said. "Not an easy piece." "No, sir," Lily replied quietly. "And you played it beautifully." His eyes, sharp and intelligent, studied her face. "Where did you learn to play like that?" Lily's hands twisted in her lap. "I started lessons when I was 6. My mom was a music teacher before she died. And your training?" "I had a good teacher through high school. Won some competitions." She paused, not sure how much to share with this powerful stranger. Mr. Blackwood seemed to sense her hesitation. "You don't have to tell me your life story, young lady. But I'm curious why someone with your talent is serving champagne instead of playing on stages." Before Lily could answer, Mr. Russo appeared at their table. "Mr. Blackwood, I had no idea Lily could play like that. I hope her interruption didn't ruin the evening." "On the contrary," Mr. Blackwood said without taking his eyes off Lily. "She just saved your event, I believe." Mr. Russo blinked, then turned to Lily. "Would you be willing to play a few more pieces during dinner?" Lily looked between the two men. This wasn't how she had expected her evening to go. Yes, I could do that." "Excellent." Mr. Blackwood nodded. Now, if you don't mind, Mr. Russo, I'd like to continue my conversation with this young lady. Mr. Russo took the hint and left them alone. Across the room, Lily could see Anna and Miguel watching her with wide eyes. Let me be direct, Mr. Blackwood said once they were alone again. My foundation supports talented young musicians who don't have the resources to develop their gifts. You seem to fit that description perfectly. Lily felt her heart beat faster. I'm not that young anymore. I'm 26, he waved a hand dismissively. That's nothing in the world of classical music. Many pianists don't reach their prime until their 30s or 40s. I haven't played seriously in years, Lily admitted. Not since I was 18. And yet you just performed a challenging piece flawlessly with no warm-up and under considerable pressure. He leaned forward. Why did you stop? The question was simple but felt too personal coming from a stranger. Still, something about Mr. Blackwood's direct approach made Lily want to answer honestly. My grandmother got sick. She raised me after my parents died, and when her health failed, she needed me. There was no one else. Lily looked down at her hands. I had a scholarship to the state conservatory, but I had to turn it down to take care of her. Mr. Blackwood nodded slowly. And now? Now I work here. And at a coffee shop 3 mornings a week. It pays the bills? Mostly. A waiter, not from their regular staff but hired for the event, approached their table with champagne. Mr. Blackwood waved him away. Your grandmother must be very proud of you, he said. Lily gave a small, sad smile. She wanted me to go to music school. She still feels guilty that I didn't. And what do you want? The question caught her off guard. It had been so long since anyone had asked her that she wasn't sure how to answer. I want her to be okay, she said finally. That's what matters. Mr. Blackwood studied her for a long moment. You know, my mother was a pianist too. Not professional. She taught elementary school music, but she loved it. When I was a child, she would play in the evenings after dinner, and the whole house would feel different somehow. Warmer. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. I want you to call my office tomorrow. My foundation might be able to help you. Lily took the card, running her thumb over the embossed lettering. Help me how? That depends on what you want, he said simply. But talent like yours shouldn't go to waste. Before she could respond, Mr. Russo appeared again. I'm sorry to interrupt, but our guests are asking when there will be more music. Mr. Blackwood raised an eyebrow at Lily. It seems you have an audience waiting. Lily nodded and stood up, tucking the business card carefully into her pocket. As she walked back to the piano, she noticed the room had changed. People watched her with interest now, some smiling encouragingly. She was no longer invisible. The sheet music on the piano had been changed. Someone had placed a book of more Chopin pieces there. Lily sat down, adjusted the bench again, and began to play. This time, she was more aware of her audience. She could feel their attention on her, but instead of making her nervous, it gave her energy. The music flowed from her fingers more easily now, as if some barrier had been broken. She played through dinner, choosing pieces that created a perfect background for conversation without being too showy. Occasionally, she would glance up and see Mr. Blackwood watching her thoughtfully while speaking with other guests. During a short break, Anna brought her a glass of water. Why didn't you ever tell us? She whispered, her eyes wide with amazement. Lily shrugged. It never came up. You're incredible. Everyone's talking about you. Lily took a sip of water, not sure how to respond to this new kind of attention. Mr. Russo wants to know if you can play at more events. Anna continued. He looks like he just discovered a gold mine in the storage room. That made Lily smile. I'd better get back to it. Thanks for the water. As the evening progressed, Lily felt something awakening inside her that had been sleeping for years. Her fingers remembered patterns she thought she had forgotten, and her body recalled how it felt to be a musician instead of just a waitress. When the final guests were preparing to leave, Mr. Blackwood approached the piano again. That was quite an evening, he said. Thank you. Thank you for listening, Lily replied. Will you call my office tomorrow? She hesitated only briefly. Yes, he nodded, satisfied. Good. Oh, and one more thing. What is your grandmother's name? I'd like to know who I have to thank for raising such a talented young woman. Rose, Lily said. Her name is Rose. After Mr. Blackwood left, Lily sat at the piano a moment longer, not quite ready to break the spell of the evening. The restaurant staff were cleaning up around her, stealing glances in her direction. Mr. Russo came over, looking slightly embarrassed. Lily, I had no idea. You should have said something. Would it have mattered? She asked, not unkindly. He had the grace to look ashamed. I don't know. Maybe not. But tonight, you were amazing. Thank you. If you want to play for our regular customers sometimes, we could arrange something. Pay you extra, of course. Lily ran her fingers lightly over the keys one last time. Let me think about it. The night air was cool as Lily waited for the bus an hour later. The restaurant had emptied quickly once the guests were gone, everyone tired from the long evening. She had changed out of her uniform, but somehow she still felt different, as if she had shed more than just the white gloves and black apron. The bus was nearly empty this late. Lily sat by the window watching the city lights, Mr. Blackwood's business card a solid weight in her pocket. For the first time in years, she let herself imagine a different future, one with music in it. Her grandmother was still awake when she got home, sitting up in bed with a book. You're late, Rose said. Was it a good party? Lily sat on the edge of the bed. It was quite unexpected. Did you get good tips at least? Better than that. Lily took a deep breath. I played the piano tonight, Grandma. Rose's book dropped to her lap. You what? Their musician got sick and I offered to fill in. Oh, honey. Her grandmother's eyes filled with tears. How did it feel? Like coming home, Lily whispered. Like I found a piece of myself I thought was gone forever. Rose reached out and took her hand. I've waited so long to hear you say that. There's more. Lily pulled out the business card. This man, Thomas Blackwood, wants me to call him tomorrow. He runs a foundation that helps musicians. The Blackwood Foundation? Rose's eyes widened. I've read about them in the paper. They do wonderful things. He said they might be able to help me, help us. What does that mean exactly? Lily shook her head. I don't know yet. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like things might change. Rose squeezed her hand tightly. They already have, dear. I can see it in your eyes. That night, Lily dreamed of music again. But this time it wasn't just a memory or a wish. It was a possibility. The Blackwood Foundation office was located in a tall glass building downtown. Lily had passed it many times on the bus but had never been inside. Now she stood in the lobby, feeling out of place in her best outfit, a simple blue dress she normally saved for job interviews. The receptionist smiled as Lily approached the desk. Can I help you? I'm here to see Mr. Blackwood. My name is Lily Chen. Recognition flashed in the receptionist's eyes. Oh yes, Ms. Chen. Mr. Blackwood mentioned you might be coming in. Please take a seat. I'll let him know you're here. Lily sat in one of the comfortable chairs, trying not to fidget. The walls were decorated with framed photos of young musicians performing on various stages around the world. She wondered if any of them had started out serving drinks to rich people. She didn't have to wait long. A door opened, and Thomas Blackwood himself appeared dressed in a casual sweater rather than the tuxedo he'd worn at the gala. Lily, thank you for coming. He shook her hand warmly. Please come to my office. She followed him through a hallway lined with more photographs into a large corner office with windows overlooking the city. Unlike what she'd expected from a wealthy businessman, the space was modest and functional. Coffee? He offered. No, thank you. He sat behind his desk and gestured for her to take a chair opposite him. I've been thinking about your situation since last night. Your playing was extraordinary, especially considering how long it's been since you've practiced regularly. Thank you, Lily said, still not used to such praise. I did some research on you this morning. He picked up a folder from his desk. Hope you don't mind. I found records of your competition wins from high school. Quite impressive. Lily shifted uncomfortably. That was a long time ago. Not that long, he said with a small smile. And talent like yours doesn't just disappear, as you proved last night. He opened the folder. You won the Regional Young Artist Competition at 16, performed with the City Symphony at 17, and received a full scholarship to the State Conservatory at 18, which you declined. He looked up at her. Is that accurate? Lily nodded. May I ask about your grandmother's condition? What kind of care does she need? The question surprised her. She has heart problems and arthritis. She can do some things for herself, but she needs help with others. The stairs in our building are hard for her, and she gets confused with her medication sometimes. Mr. Blackwood made notes as she spoke. And you're her only caregiver? Yes, we can't afford professional help. He nodded thoughtfully. Here's what I'm thinking, Lily. My foundation has a special program for exceptional musicians who have faced obstacles to their education and career. We provide scholarships, yes, but also mentorship, performance opportunities, and practical support. Lily's heart began to beat faster. I would like to offer you a place in this program, he continued. It would include private lessons with Professor David Williams at the conservatory. He's one of the best piano instructors in the country. Also a monthly stipend to allow you to reduce your work hours and practice more. It sounded too good to be true. That's very generous, but I'm not finished, he said gently. The most important part is this. We would arrange and pay for proper care for your grandmother. A part-time nurse to visit daily, help with medications, take her to appointments, that sort of thing. Lily stared at him. Why would you do all that for me? You barely know me. Because that's exactly what my foundation exists to do, he said simply. Find extraordinary talent that's being wasted because of circumstances and change those circumstances. I don't know what to say. You don't need to decide right now. Think about it. Talk to your grandmother. He handed her a thick envelope. All the details are in here, including information about Professor Williams and the care services we can arrange. Lily took the envelope with slightly shaking hands. There is one condition, Mr. Blackwood added. We would expect you to perform at our fundraising events occasionally. Last night proved you're more than capable, and it would help us raise money to support other musicians like yourself. I could do that, Lily said, finally finding her voice. But I haven't practiced seriously in so long. I'm probably not as good as you think. He laughed lightly. Professor Williams will be the judge of that. But based on what I heard last night, I'm not worried. His expression became more serious. The question is, do you still want this, Lily? Do you still want music in your life? Yes, she said without hesitation. I've always wanted it. Then call me when you've made your decision. He stood up. Take a few days to think about it. On the bus ride home, Lily held the envelope tightly in her lap, afraid it might somehow disappear if she didn't keep hold of it. The city passed by outside, the same streets she'd traveled 1,000 times before, but everything looked different today. When she got home, Rose was sitting in her usual chair by the window. She looked up eagerly when Lily entered. Well, how did it go? Lily sat down across from her and told her everything. The scholarship, the lessons, the stipend, the care arrangements. Rose listened without interrupting, her eyes growing wider with each detail. This is a miracle, she whispered when Lily finished. It's everything you've ever wanted. It's not just about what I want, Lily said. Would you be okay with having a nurse come here? Someone besides me taking care of you? Rose reached over and took her hand. Listen to me carefully. For 8 years, I've watched you put your dreams aside to take care of me. Every day, I've felt the weight of that sacrifice. This is your chance, honey. Don't you dare turn it down because you're worried about me. But no buts. I raised you to follow your heart, not to be my nurse forever. Rose's eyes were fierce despite her frail appearance. Besides, I could use some new company around here. Someone who doesn't know all my stories yet. Lily laughed through sudden tears. Are you sure? More sure than I've been about anything in a long time. The next day, Lily called Mr. Blackwood and accepted his offer. Things moved quickly after that. Within a week, she had met with Professor Williams for an initial assessment and been assigned a practice schedule. The care agency had sent a nurse named Patricia to meet Rose and establish a routine. Lily cut back her hours at the restaurant to 3 days a week and gave notice at the coffee shop. The Blackwood Foundation's stipend wasn't huge, but combined with her reduced work income, it was enough to cover their bills with a little left over. The hardest part was finding time to practice. Between work, helping Rose adjust to the new arrangements, and trying to get back her technical skills on the piano, Lily was busier than ever. Some days her fingers ached from playing exercises for hours. Other days she felt like she'd never be good enough for the opportunity she'd been given. You're being too hard on yourself, Professor Williams told her during their third lesson. He was a tall man in his 60s with kind eyes behind serious glasses. Remember, you're rebuilding muscles and reflexes that haven't been used properly in years. It takes time. I know, Lily sighed. I just feel like I'm starting over from scratch. Not from scratch, he corrected her. Your foundation is still there. Your understanding of music, your natural expressiveness, those things didn't disappear. We're just polishing the technical aspects again. Slowly, Lily began to see progress. Her hands moved more confidently across the keys. Pieces she had struggled with at first became familiar again. And sometimes, when she was playing without thinking too much, she would catch glimpses of the musician she had once been, and might become again. 1 month after her meeting with Mr. Blackwood, Lily received a call from his office. "We have a small fundraiser next weekend," his assistant explained. "Mr. Blackwood was hoping you might play a short program, just 2 or 3 pieces. Nothing too demanding. Would you be comfortable with that?" Lily thought about saying no. She wasn't ready yet, not really. But then she remembered the night of the gala, how it had felt to play again after so long. "Yes," she said, "I can do that." The night before the fundraiser, she practiced late at the community center where she now had permission to use the piano any time. Her cell phone rang around 9 o'clock. "Lily." It was Patricia, her grandmother's nurse. "Don't worry, everything's okay, but Rose is asking for you. She seems a little anxious about tomorrow. Tell her I'm on my way home," Lily said, gathering her sheet music. When she arrived, Rose was sitting up in bed, looking small against the pillows. "What's wrong, Grandma? Are you feeling sick?" No. Rose patted the bed beside her. "I just needed to see you before your big day tomorrow." "Are you nervous?" Lily sat down. "Terrified, actually." "Good. That means it matters to you." Rose smiled. "I have something for you." She reached into the drawer of her bedside table and pulled out a small velvet box. "I was saving this for a special occasion." Lily opened it to find a delicate silver bracelet with a tiny piano charm. "It's beautiful." "It was your mother's," Rose said. "She wore it at her first recital when she was just a girl. I thought you might want to wear it tomorrow." Tears sprang to Lily's eyes as she fastened the bracelet around her wrist. "I wish she could see me play." "Oh, honey." Rose's voice was soft. "She sees you. And she's so proud, just like I am." Lily hugged her grandmother carefully, mindful of her frail bones. "Thank you for everything. For believing in me even when I stopped believing in myself." "That's what family does," Rose said simply. "Now go get some sleep. You have music to play tomorrow." As Lily lay in bed that night, she touched the small piano charm on her wrist and thought about how much had changed in just a few weeks. She was still Lily Chen, still her grandmother's caretaker, still the same person who had served drinks at Le Chateau. But she was also becoming someone else, someone she had almost forgotten she could be. Tomorrow would be just the beginning. The small auditorium at the Blackwood Foundation was filled, with about 50 people dressed in expensive clothes and soft lighting. Lily peeked through the curtains at the side of the stage, her mother's bracelet cool against her wrist. The grand piano waited in the center of the stage, its lid raised and gleaming under the lights. "Nervous?" Mr. Blackwood asked, appearing beside her. "Is it that obvious?" Lily tried to smile. "Every musician gets nervous. It's part of caring about the performance." He glanced at his watch. 5 minutes. "Do you need anything?" Lily shook her head. "Just wish my grandmother could be here." "Next time," he promised. Tonight was arranged too quickly, but we're recording it for her. That made Lily even more nervous, knowing Rose would watch the performance later. She had practiced her 3 pieces until her fingers could play them in her sleep. But this was different. This wasn't filling in at a restaurant. This was her first real performance in 8 years, in front of people who understood music. Mr. Blackwood stepped onto the stage to introduce her. Lily listened as he told the audience about the Foundation's mission to support talented musicians who faced obstacles. He didn't mention that she was a waitress, but he did speak about her early achievements and her return to music after a long break. And so, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you a remarkable pianist who embodies everything our foundation stands for, Lily Chen. Applause filled the small space as Lily walked onto the stage. She wore a simple black dress borrowed from Anna, who had been thrilled to help when she heard about the performance. The stage lights were bright, making it hard to see the audience clearly, which was somehow comforting. Lily sat at the piano bench and adjusted it slightly. She placed her hands on the keys and took a deep breath. The first piece was a Bach prelude, clean, precise, a good warm-up for both her and the audience. As she played the familiar notes, her initial nervousness began to fade. The piano responded beautifully to her touch, far better than the old one at the community center. When she finished, there was warm applause. Lily moved directly to her second piece, a Schubert impromptu with flowing melodies that Professor Williams had suggested to show her expressiveness. Here she felt herself relaxing even more, letting the music speak through her fingers. For her final piece, she had chosen Chopin, not the ballade she had played at the gala, but a nocturne that had always been special to her. It was the last piece she had performed before giving up music 8 years ago. As the gentle, dreamlike notes filled the auditorium, Lily closed her eyes briefly. She thought of all the nights she had lain awake, hearing music in her head but unable to play it. She thought of her grandmother sitting beside the window, waiting for her to come home from work. She thought of the restaurant piano she had walked past so many times, wishing she could touch it. When the final notes faded away, there was a moment of complete silence before the audience burst into applause. Lily stood and bowed, feeling slightly dizzy with relief and happiness. Afterward, there was a small reception where audience members could mingle with the foundation staff. Several people approached Lily to congratulate her. "That was lovely, dear," said an older woman with silver hair. "So much feeling in your playing." "Thank you," Lily replied, still not used to such conversations. "How long have you been studying with David?" asked a man who turned out to be another music professor at the conservatory. "Just a few weeks, actually." His eyebrows rose. "Remarkable progress, then. He must be pleased with you." Professor Williams himself appeared, looking more relaxed than Lily had ever seen him in their lessons. "She's a natural talent. I can't take much credit yet." As the evening wound down, Lily found herself standing with Mr. Blackwood near the door. "You did wonderfully," he said. "How did it feel to be on stage again?" "Like coming home," Lily admitted. "Scary, but right." He nodded as if he understood perfectly. "This is just the beginning, you know. If you continue to work hard, there will be many more performances. Thank you for giving me this chance. I don't know if I can ever repay you." "That's not how this works," he said firmly. "The foundation exists to help people like you. All I ask is that you make the most of the opportunity. And perhaps someday when you're a famous concert pianist, you'll remember us in your biography." Lily laughed. "I don't think I'll ever be famous." "We'll see." He checked his watch. "Your car should be waiting outside. The driver will take you home." The foundation had arranged transportation for her, another luxury she wasn't used to. As the car moved through the nighttime streets, Lily watched the city lights blur past, feeling a strange mix of exhaustion and excitement. Rose was still awake when she got home, sitting up in bed with Patricia beside her. "There she is," Rose exclaimed. "How did it go? Tell me everything." Patricia stood up. "I'll leave you two to talk. I'll be back in the morning, Rose." After the nurse left, Lily sat on her grandmother's bed and described the evening in detail. The auditorium, the piano, the audience, the reception afterward. "I wish you could have been there," she said. "Next time," Rose promised. "Patricia says she can take me in a wheelchair if it's not too far." She reached out to touch Lily's bracelet. "Did it help to have a piece of your mother with you?" "It did," Lily smiled. "I kept thinking about how she used to practice with me when I was little. How patient she was. She would be so proud of you." Rose's eyes filled with tears. "Both your parents would." "I miss them," Lily said softly. "But I'm glad I have you. And now you have your music back, too." The next few months passed in a blur of practice lessons and occasional performances. Lily still worked at the restaurant 3 days a week. But things were different there, too. Mr. Russo had put a small sign on the piano. "Home of pianist Lily Chen, Blackwood Foundation Scholar." Some regular customers even requested that she play briefly during her shifts, which Mr. Russo now encouraged. Professor Williams pushed her harder as she progressed, assigning more difficult pieces and longer practice sessions. Sometimes Lily felt overwhelmed by how much she still needed to learn, how far she had to go. But then she would remember how far she had already come. 1 year after the night of the charity gala, Lily found herself preparing for her biggest performance yet, a full recital at the City Concert Hall, sponsored by the Blackwood Foundation. Her name was on the posters outside the building, something she still couldn't quite believe when she saw it. Backstage, she adjusted her dress, a new one this time, bought specially for the occasion. Rose had helped her choose it, insisting on coming to the store despite needing her wheelchair that day. 10 minutes. "Ms. Chen," the stage manager called. Lily nodded, her stomach full of butterflies despite having performed many times over the past year. This was different, a solo recital, her name alone on the program. There was a knock on her dressing room door. Mr. Blackwood entered, followed by Professor Williams. "Just wanted to wish you luck," Mr. Blackwood said, "although you don't need it. You're more than ready." "Your technique has improved tremendously," Professor Williams added, "but more importantly, your musicality was always there, waiting to come out again." "Thank you both," Lily said, "for everything." After they left, Lily had a quiet moment alone. She thought about the journey that had brought her here, from a waitress stealing glances at a restaurant piano to a musician about to give her first major recital. Not everything had been easy. There had been frustrating practice sessions, moments of doubt, times when balancing work and music and family felt impossible. But there had also been joy, the feeling of mastering a difficult passage, the connection with an audience, the pride in Rose's eyes when she heard Lily play. A final knock on the door. "It's time, Ms. Chen." Lily touched her mother's bracelet for luck, then walked through the backstage area toward the bright lights. She could hear the murmur of the audience beyond the curtain. In the front row, Rose waited in her wheelchair, Patricia beside her. Mr. Russo was there too, having closed the restaurant for the evening so the staff could attend. Anna, Miguel, and the others sat nearby, all dressed in their best clothes. As Lily stepped onto the stage, the applause washed over her. The grand piano stood waiting, its keys visible from where she stood. She thought briefly of that other piano, the one in the corner of Le Chateau, and how it had changed her life when she finally found the courage to play it. She sat down, adjusted the bench one last time, and placed her hands on the keys. The audience fell silent, waiting for her to begin. Lily looked out at all the faces watching her, strangers and friends, teachers and family, and felt, for the first time in many years, exactly where she was meant to be. Then she began to play.